Howdy folks, Justin here, and I like to go through the cards, all the cards every once in a while, and find cards that I think are worthy of a second look, and I made a number of videos like this over the last year, and I think it's time for my first edition of this for Heroes of Skyrim. So I've got 5 cards today that I think aren't seeing as much play as they deserve, and I'm going to talk briefly about why I think they're good. So the first one I want to look at is Candlehearth Brawler. Now, as with all these cards, these are cards that do see some play, but not nearly at the level that I think that they deserve. Candlehearth Brawler is a card that I think sort of works in this meta in particular. It's very straightforward. It's a 2/5 for 4 with charging guard. But I think that in the land of tempo and mid-range sort of brawls, where you're doing a lot of face and not a lot of trading, the Candlehearth Brawler could be the Nord King, right? And I say this because it's possible to get a 2-for-1 with this, but it's not really the point of the card. The point of the card is to kill an opposing creature and then roadblock your opponent at the same time in the future. It has the ability to sort of fade and execute because you can swing with it before your opponent gets a chance to crack at it. And it also has some pretty good utility in the fact that you can just charge your opponent for 2 damage with it, so it functions as a little bit of reach as well. I think that it's a sort of card that is, it sees some play in maybe a Crusader list right now, but I think that you could run this successfully in a slightly slower version of Archer. I think you could run this in Battlemage Control. It's a card I'm looking at actually, and excuse me. I think that you could also have some pretty successful stuff in a ramp warrior with this card. I think Candlehearth Brawler deserves a second look, and I think it's a card you should check out. Okay, now we're going to get to a card that I have been super impressed with. The Eldergleam Matron. This is just pure value, right? And the flip side of the meta conversation about the previous card, as far as Eldergleam Matron goes, is that in a lot of situations, pursuing value is not rewarded right now because it's more about tempo. But I think Eldergleam Matron sort of makes up for this by being a 4-attack creature for 3 magicka that can function on several levels, right? If you need early game aggression, this card is as aggressive as a 3-drop creature gets, as far as attack power goes. If you need to trade, this thing will trade up pretty easily. And if you need value, you're basically gonna be getting a 2-for-1 all the time with this thing, assuming you play it anywhere near the curve. And the ability late game to play one of these things and functionally draw 2 cards is fantastic when you're in top deck mode or the board's been cleared on both sides. This can be a stalemate breaker sort of card. I think Eldergleam Matron's really good. I also need to point out that I love the art on that. I think it's really cool. I like the bear, I think it is, in the background. Kind of a thin bear or maybe a really fat wolf. Either way, Eldergleam Matron's a good card that deserves to see more play. I think you can run this in, and the only place I've seen it is in Assassin decks. But I think you could run this successfully again in a slower Archer deck that I haven't really seen. I think you could run this in a Monk mid-range list, maybe taking another look at some of those life gain cards that were popular right before the expansion dropped, thanks to Protector the Main. And I think that it's got an obvious place in Ultra Assassin, potentially an Ultra Monk, although Ultra Monk's a little bit of a different beast, more control, I think, than Ultra Assassin tends to be. And I think you could also make a case that you could run this in a tempo scout deck that just doesn't exist at all right now, maybe alongside other tempo oriented cards like the Green Prophecies, maybe even some self-silence effects, and or just a bunch of silence effects, including a card I mentioned in my prophecy video, haunting the 2/2 for 4 that silences something that has prophecy. And Siege Engine, the 3-drop purple card, or 2-drop purple card that costs, oh, well, hold on, let me go to all sets real quick. The 2 Magicka 5/5 or 3 Magicka 5/5. I was right the first time. I was just in the wrong page. Right. I'm just having a total brain fart right now. Siege Catapult. There we go. It's a 2 Magicka 5/5. You silence this thing, or you just fill the board because you're pumping out creatures. I think you can make a pretty good deck like that, and I think that deck would include Eldergleam Matron. Next is a card that I've actually started playing with, and that is Battlemage's Onslaught. In fact, this is the title card for a deck I'm calling Onslaught Control. This card allows you to do something kind of cool, which is kind of overextend with your removal spells, right? Because you can refuel with playable cards. I mean, whatever you get, you're getting 3 cards for 1 here. And it's great in the control matchup. I think in any class that had access to healing or better removal than Battlemage has, Battlemage's Onslaught would be too good. I think that this is the only color combination actually where you can print this card and not have it just be busted powerful. But it's such a powerful card that I think that that's the sort of thing that should drive deck building and deck innovation. I think this card is probably not particularly good in Battlemage Aggro or Prophecy Battlemage, although you could slow those decks down a little bit to add some more value if the meta sort of went in a direction that rewarded that. But I think Battlemage's Onslaught is good enough to warrant its own control deck, actually. And if you haven't tried it out, I mean, first of all, it's the greatest top deck ever, right? Because you're getting 3 amazing opportunities for good cards, and I've found situations where, while playing this card, I mean, I didn't realize that this particular equipment offered this opportunity. You know, it's a skill testing card in a way because you're given all sorts of things, but the value is just insane from this thing. I think that it is severely underplayed. I think in large part because the deck that it needs isn't really. There's not a great list out there yet, although I'm working on it myself. But Battlemage's Onslaught is a card to watch, absolutely for sure. Next is a card that I actually mentioned in my 10 Heroes of Skyrim cards you can craft, and then since then I have not seen anybody play it. And that is Deepwood Trapper. I think Deepwood Trapper is amazing. I've been singing this card's praises for a month now, and I think this card is just a huge sleeper. The stats are great. 1/3 guard for 1. The ability is fantastic. It synergizes obviously with the Shackle guy, Dres Tormentor, and it's just such a great roadblock. And its ability to shackle things that that your opponent has with 2 toughness means that you can shackle it when it tries to swing in for a 2, to kill your guy over 2 turns, and then you can turn around and play a creature that will trade successfully with it and keep your Deepwood Trapper alive. I think you can play this honestly in any of the color combinations that involve green in the right style deck. It's a tempo card. You can hide more aggressive creatures behind it. This card is, this card was born to protect your Daring Cut Purses. And I think that, on that note, the OG ridiculous aggro deck, Pilfer Monk, I think could definitely benefit from this. But I think you can run this in any Monk deck successfully, and I think you probably want this in Archer, in Assassin, and in the right Scout deck. I mean, I've played it really successfully in some Scout decks. Again, a little more aggressive than the Scout decks that are really popular right now. But Deepwood Trapper is a very powerful card, one of the few 1-drop creatures in the game that offers the sort of value I'm looking for in every card that I play. And I think it's honestly only a matter of time before Deepwood Trapper becomes pretty huge. And because it's not a meta call that I'm making on this that causes me to think it's powerful. I think this is just a great card no one's playing. Okay, now we have Icewing Dragon. This is probably the most controversial of these choices, in as much as this video can be controversial. But this is a strictly meta thing. This card is going to function very similarly to Belligerent Giant in decks that can't run Belligerent Giant. I think Icewing Dragon is perfectly positioned right now because so many games come down to small little differences, like who started with the ring, who started the game, that sort of thing, as far as who's going to win the game, who pushes that final amount of damage. Icewing Dragon's a big body, 6/4 for 6, but the shackle a creature ability is just huge. you lock down their drain creature, you lock down whatever. This is the ultimate tempo mid-range card for blue. In a color full of stuff like this, I just think Icewing Dragon is pretty underlooked right now, and it's a card that I mean, mid-range assassin I think would benefit greatly from it. That's the deck that comes immediately to mind, and not just because of the shackle synergy, because I think that's kind of weak actually, but just because I think it's a really strong card. I think it's well designed. Obviously, it's fantastic in arena, but if you haven't tried Icewing Dragon out yet, I mean, it's just a rare, so it's not terribly expensive to craft. I would recommend throwing a couple of these into your blue mid-range decks and giving it a shot, because I really believe that Icewing Dragon is perfectly positioned right now. So anyway, that's my thoughts on 5 cards from Heroes of Skyrim that aren't seeing the kind of play I think they deserve. If you have suggestions for cards you think need to see more play, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you all on the ladder. Bye-bye.